President-elect Donald Trump wants a new lesson plan for the U.S. Department of Education. His syllabus urges Congress to dismantle the department and turn the management of our schools over to the states. WIFI reporter Alyssa Kelly talks with former and current schools leaders about what the future president's ideas would mean for the state line.
Academic leaders tell us any change to the U.S. Department of Education would bring about concerns. But altering the structure of the department and how funding is spread out could create even more chaos. But President-elect Donald Trump believes the current system doesn't work.
To dismantle the education system has me on alert.
Trump picked Linda McMahon to lead the department. Educators we spoke with say they don't know enough about her and want to hear her thoughts on improving our schools.
I think it's just all a wait and see to see, what's going to happen, what the proposals are.
The head of school at Christian Life Schools doesn't think specific proposals would affect private schools in the area.
If they're going to move the funding to the state, that'll be great. We have a great partnership with our local district here as well. I don't anticipate that changing. We all have the same goal of helping kids and increasing learning.
These proposals would need congressional action, requiring 60 votes or a supermajority in the Senate. Judy Bethke of Christian Life says maybe it is time to look at doing things differently.
Maybe there's new ways to do things that we haven't thought of, and now's an opportunity to find new ways that can benefit students and teachers and the educational system.
Michael Dugan, the superintendent from Hononegah School District, says it's too early to worry about any specific plans.
I am livid.
Rhonda Greer Robinson has been an educator for more than 30 years, but she tells me changes like this can shift the entire education system.
I think that we need to be educated on what the change is going to look like and how it's going to affect the education system of teaching our children, teaching our adults as well.
I also reached out to the Illinois State Board of Education. They tell me they will remain committed to advocating for and protecting Illinois schools, districts, families, and students.
Thank you, Alyssa. According to educationweek.org, before Trump, the last presidential candidate to call for abolishing the education department in the party platform was Senator Bob Dole.